Coming soon from Blizzard Entertainment, the company that brought you the magnificence of Stormwind, the cold hand of steel of Orgrimmar, the otherworldly beauty of Shatrath, and the mystical and magical city of Dalaran. Hell, they even made not a half bad job of the Pandaren shrines in that shitty Mist of Pandaria. Come, the most underwhelming faction hubs known to the game, consisting of 5 huts and a fire, as well as 3 buildings and a goat called Derek. Are you fucking kidding me or something? These are the faction hubs for Warlords of Draenor?
Hi everybody, it's Az here from Heel vs Babyface with another episode of AzChats. I thought it was only a few days ago since I did the last AzChats. It felt like it to me anyway. Turns out 2.5 weeks, nearly 3 weeks ago. What? What the deuce? Time flies when you're having fun and all that, I suppose. So just as always, if you're new to AzChats videos, these are more podcasty type of videos as opposed to visual videos, although there will be some footage for you to look at throughout the course if you want to remain seated and glued to your PC. Strange, but true. If not, if you want to get on with stuff around the house, crank up the volume. You know the drill by now. Crank up the volume so you can hear my dulcet tones in the background and you get on with whatever you need to get on with. And just a disclaimer, as always with AzChats, because they come from the heart, that was my sternum I was given a whack to, because they come from the heart and they can get a little bit, how shall we put this? Excitable. There may be some fruity language here and there. I try not to, but I got so into one of them the other week, the C-bomb fell out. Whoops. So yeah, there may be some fruity language. So if you are offended by fruity language, then I would recommend you probably don't listen, just in case, you know. Don't want to hurt your precious ear holes. So I did a stream on Saturday afternoon. And it was a stream that depressed me massively. It was set in Ashran, which is the level 100 PvP zone in Warlords of Draenor / Draenor. We'll find out which way we're going to go with Draenor soon enough. But it's not the actual PvP aspect that I want to discuss in today's video. If you were part of that stream, and there were quite a lot of you in there, if you were part of that stream, then you'll know it's to do with the capital city hubs for Warlords. Now, I did this little joke beginning at the start, because that, to me, just kind of epitomizes, that really just sums everything up in a T. We've had some amazing capital cities in our time in the World of Warcraft. From the Alliance, you had Stormwind, you know, the main capital city. Beautiful looking place, fantastic. The Horde have had Orgrimmar, which has undergone a significant change, especially when Garrosh took over as War Chief of the Horde. But still, Orgrimmar is vast and, to me, epitomizes everything that the Horde stands for. In the Burning Crusade, we had the Sanctuary City of Shatrath, which, again, even though it was in a bit of a dilapidated state, was still something to behold. Very otherworldly and beautiful. And then in Wrath of the Lich King, we had the immense and magical Dalaran. This city, which used to be in Tirisfal Glades, that was ripped out, or currently protected by a dome, but was then ripped out and sent off to Northrend to aid in the battle against Arthas, the Lich King. And again, that was a sanctuary town. They decided in Cataclysm to redo Orgrimmar and Stormwind, and they would once again become the main hubs. Good idea or bad idea is debatable. Personally, I don't think it was the best of ideas because from the Alliance side, and it was the Alliance I was playing at the time, there used to be a huge following of people, including myself, that wouldn't actually chill out in Stormwind. We would chill out in Ironforge. that was our preferred city of choice. But because they put all the new guys, the new ethereals, into one city, Orgrimmar and Stormwind, that kind of killed off Ironforge, which was a shame, which was a massive shame. And all the portals and all that kind of stuff, they all went into Stormwind and Orgrimmar. So any other of the capital cities, Thunderbluff, Undercity, yada yada yada, they all got pushed to one side, and Orgrimmar and Stormwind became the main focal points. We then had Mists of Pandaria, and we had the two shrines, really close together, which I didn't particularly like. But even though I think Mists was the biggest pile of poop that WoW has created, that Blizzard has created to date, I can't knock how the shrines looked. I thought they were beautiful. You know, these Mogu structures, I think they were built by the Pandarans while they were slaves of the Mogu. But these are amazing shrines, huge in stature, not necessarily in size, but in stature. So you could imagine the Mogu coming in and out of them. You go inside and, you know, they had high ceilings that an estate agent would just freaking die for, you know? And I always felt relaxed. Even though I hated Mists, I always felt relaxed in my capital city, my shrine. It was a nice place to chill out and relax. Very colourful. Very attractive. And then we have the Ashran. Faction hubs. Even Blizzard aren't calling these capital cities. They're calling them faction hubs. The main area that the Horde and the Alliances are meant to chill out. And before people start jumping on me saying, yeah, well, come on, this is just beta, or beta, if you're a racist and don't appreciate that people from different places actually pronounce words differently. But, you know, this is the beta, and, you know, there's plenty of time for them to alter it. That in itself is true. This is beta, and yes, they can alter stuff. But the premise of what we have is pretty much there. And currently on the Horde side, we've got 5 frickin' huts, and on the Alliance side we have almost like a hamlet town centre. If you don't know what a hamlet is, it's like somewhere it's even smaller than a village. We've got a lot of hamlets in the UK, especially out in the countryside. They usually involve around 3 houses and a goat called Derek. And this is how it feels for the Horde and the Alliance side. They are so underwhelmingly, ridiculously bad. It not just verges on the embarrassing, because I am embarrassed by these, and I've had nothing to do with them. But if the people who created these, I can understand the art designers have to work to orders, you know, for want of a better phrase. They have to work to specific guidelines. Let's do guidelines. Guidelines is probably a nicer way of saying orders, but orders are orders at the end of the day. So you can't really blame them. But the people that made the decision to create this shit, honestly, you should be embarrassed. You really should be embarrassed of yourselves. Now, the reason why this is, again, so annoying for a lot of us is, and I don't want to repeat too much of the last video that I did, which was the capital shitty AzChats, where I did discuss about the fact that they pulled away from the 2 designated capital cities that we were going to get in BlizzCon 2013. They did say, they outlined the fact that the Horde would be attacking Bladespire Fortress, and when the Horde had completed their assault, they would take it over as their capital hub. And the Alliance would defend the Temple of Caribor, the Draenor city, which was the Temple of Caribor, the most sacred of places to the Draenor. And once the Alliance had successfully defended that from the Iron Horde, then that would become the Alliance hub. And these 2 places, I've no doubt had some footage floating around in this video. It might still be going on. I don't know how I'm going to edit it. But these 2 places were immense. It's the only real way that I can describe them. They were absolutely immense. They were something special. Bladespire Fortress epitomised the Horde. It was cruel. It was unforgiving. You know, forgive my terminology, but look, you know, let's just face it. The Horde are always perceived as villains. The Alliance are perceived as the heroes. Regardless of how you yourself justify that, let's just go with the rule of thumb here. But the Bladespire Fortress was really unforgiving, brutal. set in a very harsh environment, and it was this colossal ogre Ogron creation that just went up and up and up. I think it was 3 stories high, but it wasn't just a tower, it was just like the biggest of towers that you could imagine. And you could also understand that on each level there would be plenty for people to do. So there would be, you know, your faction hub people, there would be your portals to various cities, or if it's just the portal to Stormwind, whatever. But I'd imagine the portals to all the other capital cities if it's going to be a main hub. Potentially your profession vendors, maybe also some class vendors, depending on how the way they wanted to structure that. There was plenty of room for all of that, and even though the places were so big, just like they did with the shrines in Miss of Pandaria, they could easily make your journey there a lot more simple. So for argument's sake, you could take a teleporter from level 1 to level 2 and level 2 to level 3. You could do something as simple as that. You could have your movement speed increased by 100% while you're inside the building. Just things like that. Things which would expedite your position within that base. Then we have the Temple of Karabor, which I think is the most beautiful creation I've ever seen in the World of Warcraft. I really do. I think it's just something to behold. It's the most breathtaking of environments I've come across. As a member of the Alliance, I've been Horde for 4 years. I've been Alliance now for 3.5 years-ish. So I've nearly been Horde and Alliance the same amount of time. But as a current member of the Alliance, as my main on the European servers, I couldn't have asked for anything more as a player. I really could not. Not only did the temple look exemplary, but the grounds were simply breathtaking. The streams, the bridges, the trees, the amphitheatre, everything was just beyond special. Absolutely beyond special. And so when you get news that these 2 colossal places are going to be replaced by 5 huts and a fire and 3 buildings and a goat called Derek, who's got a choice of 58 tents out front, it depresses the crap out of you, to be perfectly honest with you. I have a question which has been asked of me the most so far during my testing of Warlords of Draenor. And that question is it any good? And it's a very difficult question to answer, because so far I'm having a lot of fun. I'm having awesome fun. So you could say, well, if you're having awesome fun, then surely it's good. It's not necessarily the case. You see, the reason why I'm having awesome fun at the moment is because I'm levelling up. I'm levelling up from 90 to 100, and I think the current item block is around 94, 95, where you can't go any further. And when you're levelling up, you're going on a very linear levelling up journey. It is very linear. Although you've got choices, your levelling up is linear because you're going from 90 to 100. You're not going from 90 to 87 to 92 to 36. You know, it's 91, 92, 93, 94, 90, yada, yada, yada. So you're going on a linear journey. And because you are going on this linear journey to go from 90 to 100, you are constantly doing things. Blizzard are not leaving you, per se, to your own devices. It's not like Skyrim, it's not like Morrowind, it's not like Oblivion, where you can literally exit the beginning area and go do as you please. That's not how WoW is structured as an MMORPG. You go to your starting hub, you get your quests, you complete your quests, you might then have a choice of different hubs to go to with where you quest next, but either or, if you're to get from level 90 to 91, then you pretty much have to do all of them, bar a few choices. And then once you've completed the quests in that zone, you can move on to your next zone, etc, etc, etc. So when you're going through a leveling up process, you always have something to do, you always have something to occupy your time with. And so far, my time has been occupied very well. I found the storylines very engaging indeed, both on the Horde and the Alliance side. Particularly, I have to say, they're on the Alliance side. I think the storyline's been epic. I've actually enjoyed the nature of the quests as well. Although there does seem to be your typical, generic collect, kill quests, all that jazz, I have found them bearable. There has been a little bit of break, a little bit of variation, and you do get the odd kind of storyline scenario thrown in without the tagline of scenario for good measure, which has been very intriguing indeed. So, all in all, my levelling up procedure has been a pleasure. It has been a joy, and I've had a lot of fun doing it. All the way from the very start in the event in Tanan Jungle through to Gorgron, where I am now, currently levelling up. But you see, there's a problem here. And the problem is, levelling up takes about 1 to 2 weeks of your time when you're in a new expansion. When Warlords of Draenor is finally released, I will go from level 90 to level 100 in about 2 weeks, probably. Give or take. Maybe a week and a bit. Maybe 2.5 weeks. But I'm going to go approximately, 2 or 3 weeks in total in levelling up in Warlords of Draenor. Every expansion to date has an approximate lifespan of 2 years. Approximate lifespan of 2 years. Burning Crusade was pretty much that. Wrath of the Lich King was pretty much bang on again. Cataclysm was slightly less, and it looks like Mists of Pandaria is going to be slightly more. But on average, an expansion's current lifespan, regardless of Blizzard saying we want to get an expansion out every year, we've heard it since Wrath of the Lich King, they have about a 2-year lifespan attached to them. You take 2 or 3 weeks off the lifespan of 2 years for the expansion, you have a hell of a lot of time at maximum level doing whatever Blizzard have in store for us. And the simple fact of the matter is, if we go by Blizzard's past track record, they haven't left a massive amount of things for us to do at maximum level outside of top-end raiding. Mists of Pandaria was an amazing example of that. Cataclysm was an amazing example of that. There was nothing to do at level 85 in Cataclysm. Virtually nothing at all. You would simply sit in your capital city, queue up, do 7 dungeons to get your Valor cap, and then most likely log onto an alt. And just get alt after alt after alt after alt leveled up. With Mists of Pandaria, they tried to pull away from you playing that many alts and stick to your main character. So they gave us a horrible, grindy endgame at level 90. You had the despicable dailies, and then you had your crappy dungeons and your pathetic scenarios, and they were. I can't speak less highly of the content. It was abysmal. The raiding was there, and the raiding was strong. But if you didn't have the time for raiding, or you simply weren't interested in raiding, there was virtually zero for you to do. I'm not even going to touch LFR. That's been done multiple times. I ain't going to go there. Because that ain't raiding. And it certainly isn't content. It's a sightseeing tour. There we go. There's enough of that. No, leave LFR alone, Az. Leave it alone. So when you come to endgame, that's when the real expansion begins. And that's when you find people sitting in their latest capital city hubs. Now, we have something different in Warlords of Draenor. We have garrisons. Garrisons are these bases which we are going to build up ourselves to 3 different levels of size and structure, whether you're Horde or Alliance, and you're going to be able to put your own buildings inside of it, your own choice of buildings. There are multiple choices, there are only a few available slots. So you yourself decide what buildings are going to go in your garrison. And you yourself can quite happily live in your garrison. Now, there was something that hasn't quite been confirmed yet, or it certainly hasn't been implemented on live servers at the moment, but Blizzard have said that you will be able to set permissions on who can come in and visit your garrison. And I think you can have up to, what they're hoping is a maximum of up to about 40 people at a time in a single garrison, if that person desires that. If they don't, they can lock it up They can lock up the garrison so only they can go in. But of course, if you are locking it up, if you don't want 40 odd people in, or if you don't have 40 odd friends, you know, you've only got a handful of friends, then the garrison can be a very lonely place indeed. And let's face it, even though a lot of us play an MMORPG and we're about as sociable as a Nazi and a Jew, we all still hang out in the capital city. Because regardless of our social desire, let's face it, we all feel some comfort knowing that there's a load of other people around us. That's why we do it. You can deny it to your blue in the face, but a lot of us like the fact that there are a lot of people around us, surrounding us. It gives us comfort. It makes us feel as if it's not just us that are enjoying this game. There are multiple people enjoying this game. Again, irregardless of whether we choose to interact with them, it's just simply nice to see all these people around. Simple as that. Your capital cities, or your capital hubs in this case, always have the amenities that you want as well. If you're an engineer, they've got the auction house. They don't if you're not an engineer. They always have the portals to take you to wherever you need to go, to the various places. They usually have the profession trainers there, not necessarily leveling you up, but always there to buy your mats should you acquire them. Your anvils, you get the drift. You have all the amenities there. And if Blizzard can boil down all of that to 5 huts and a fire, or 3 buildings and a goat called Derek, then that's a pretty sad state of affairs. And bearing in mind that the vast majority of people are going to be sat in a capital hub queuing up for their content, which is going to be the case, then how many people are you expecting to be in this hub, Blizz? Because if you go... I did a video recently where I did an archaeology video. What WTF happened to archaeology in World of Warcraft? And Blizzard have got this huge problem. They can't get people out into the big wide world because everything that people want can be done by sat on their fat ass doing nothing. I.e., sat in their capital hub. You want to go into a dungeon? You queue up. You click your queue, you queue up. If Blizzard take away that function and say, if you want to do a heroic dungeon though, you've got to get a group together. So how do you get a group together? Well, you go to your capital city because we all use trade chat. Nobody uses general chat. Nobody uses looking for group chat. It's trade chat because that's the busiest chat channel in the game. So you plow everything into trade chat and then everybody will see it. Because a lot of people cut the other channels off. I don't want to see general chat. I don't want to see looking for a chat. They don't want to see those, but they all want to see trade chat. So you put I am looking for a tank, a healer, and 2 DPS to join me to do a heroic dungeon. So you're still doing it in your capital city. You want to join this scenario, you queue up in the capital city, because you just sat there, and you keep repeating and repeating. LFR, the same. There's no incentive to ever go out into the wide world. Blizzard haven't put any incentives out there anymore. Archaeology is a shell. There's nothing there. There are no mounts to dig up in Mists of Pandaria. In actual fact, they only released 6 blue items in the whole of the expansion for archaeology. So you don't need people going out there digging stuff up. There's nothing there. If Blizzard have something cool to be dug up or found in the game now, it goes on the Blizzard store for a premium rate. They create a cool mount. Don't put that cool mount in the ground. Put it on the Blizzard store. Let's make some money. Cool pet. Oh, look, everyone. It's the new Cinder, whatever it was, that they released. Cinder Corgi or whatever. That's going to go up on the Blizz store. Let's make no bones about it. That's going to go up on the Blizzard store. And they're going to make some money from it. The recent mount with the hitching post. Blizz store. Fey Dragon, which is actually a mount in Warlords of Draenor. Blizz store. Dread Raven, which again is a creature that's going to be featured heavily in Warlords of Draenor. Well, you got to purchase the collector's edition of Warlords of Draenor. Then we have the Sky Reaver, the 2-headed Sky Reaver for the Iron Horde, their choice of mount, their choice of flying mount. Again, heavily featured in the very starting zone for the Horde in Warlords of Draenor. Blizz Store. These are mounts which we would have got through vendors by getting reputation in the past. We would have got to Exalted Reputation with a faction and been able to purchase the Sky River mount for 5,000 gold. 3,000 gold. Whatever the cost that it would be. But no longer. There is no incentive to go out into the world anymore, because if it's cool, it's now on the Blizzard Store for money, and convenience-wise, you might as well be sat there. So if that is still going to be the philosophy for Warlords of Draenor, then we're all going to be stood in this faction hub on top of each other, loads upon loads of people, 50, 60, 70 people, spread out amongst 5 huts and a fire, or 3 buildings and a goat called Derek and a fuckload of tents. Now, I haven't even touched on the fact of something additionally major to this. Ashran is going to be an instanced isle, just like Isle of Thunder, just like Isle of Kel'Thras. It's going to be an instanced isle. So although you can see the coastline, you won't be able to access it. You're not attached to the coastline. So when I did my previous video on capital shitties, this is exactly what I was referring to when I said you're not going to be on Draenor, because theoretically you're not. You're not even on the same instance server as Draenor. You're on the same world as Draenor, the same continent. I think Draenor's technically a continent and not a planet, by the way. I think there are multiple continents on Draenor. We're only seeing the one continent of what could be 3 or 4. So even that in itself is detached, and it's tagged on to the world PvP zone. Now, having seen this world PvP zone in action, I fear for the capital hubs, mainly because I was expecting Ashran to be Ultrac Valley 2.0. I was expecting it to be huge, a big ass battleground where you could literally get lost exploring and finding stuff. But it's not. It's tiny. It's a really, really small zone. And the premise of the Isle seems to be Zerg. One faction Zergs the other faction. They Zerg into their base. They kill everything in their base. And do you think for one moment they're going to stop there? Do you think for one single solitary moment they're not going to say, well, let's just push on down the hill into their shitty faction hub and wipe out anyone that's PvP flagged, even if you're on a PvE server. If you're PvP flagged, you're fair game. Or let's just kill every single solitary NPC. Or let's just cause shite. Because let's face it, guards don't do anything. Blizzard talk about these guards acting as defenders. Have you seen guards? They are so easily destroyed. Easily destroyed. They were in mists. They were everywhere else. They're not going to defend against a marauding horde of Alliance or Horde soldiers ploughing into your faction hub. And this makes absolutely zero sense, because when Cataclysm came out, if Blizzard decided to announce, by the way, folks, your new capital hubs are going to be on Tol Barad, you'd be like, what? That makes no sense. That doesn't make any sense at all, Blizzard. Why would we have our capital hubs in a PvP zone? And this is exactly what it is here. It makes no sense other than Blizzard trying to force the PvP issue. That's what they're trying to do. Force people into doing this. To be quite honest with you, I'll do a video on Ashran, but at the moment, ridiculously boring Zergfest. It's literally like, you know those executive toys that you can get for desks, and you have the ball bearings, and there's about 5 of them, and you lift the end one and you release it, and it hits the first one, and all the energy transfers through to the one at the end, and then the other one pops out. The final one swings. That's what this is like. This is what Ashran's like. The Alliance Zerg from their base all the way through to the Horde base. When they get into the Horde base, the Horde then regroup and Zerg all the way back to the Alliance base. And then the Alliance regroup And they zerg all the way through. That's what's going to happen with your 2 faction hubs caught at the end of this crap. With just hassle after hassle after hassle going to be thrown upon your faction hub. There's no denying it. There is no denying it whatsoever. Already, on the beta, we've had people coming through. Although there are no NPCs there, we've had enemy members just simply come on through. And this is what it's going to be like. Disruption after disruption after disruption in an environment which is just, quite frankly, embarrassing. Now, I said in my other video about capital shitties, Blizzard have to stop pushing. They have to stop fighting the community on this one. And I will emphasize this once more, Blizzard. Stop it. There is absolutely no need for the faction hubs if you want people to be forced into their garrisons. Just put the freaking portals in the garrisons and get rid of these daft faction hubs at the end of Ashran. And if people want to go to Ashran, then pop a portal to Ashran in people's garrison too. If you don't want them to socialise in a capital hub and you want them to go back to their garrison and do whatever you want them to do, find some more plans, build some more buildings, send some followers out on missions, there's nothing wrong with that. I think the garrisons has a lot of life in it should you provide constant content for it. But the fact of the matter is, you don't. You never do. You never do provide longevity of content. The classic example would be Timeless Isles, something that was so badly paced, the vast majority of people could get everything they needed from the Timeless Isle within a couple of weeks. And here we are, in a patch which is going to last us a year or more. So badly paced. So there's going to come a bottleneck where people simply can't do anything with their garrisons because they've either run out of money, they haven't got the plans, or the followers are out doing stuff. And then they just have to sit there in their garrison on their own, or go over to the most ridiculous, pathetic excuse of a faction hub that I've ever seen in the game of the World of Warcraft. Stop fighting the community on this. Get rid of these pathetic monstrosities at the end of Ashran and either return the capital cities to all their glory, Temple of Karabor, Bladespire Fortress, or relocate everything to the garrison. And then let the garrison or let the people decide should they open up their garrison for other people to come in, chill out, relax. Those people that don't have the tens and thousands of gold that it's going to require to complete your garrison should you not be able to find the plans. But Blizzard, final time, stop fighting your community on these matters. The community doesn't want this. It doesn't make logical sense. It's absolute stupidity to put them where you have put them. And on top of that, they look like shit. You can tweak a few of the buildings to make them look a little bit nicer. It's not going to change the fact that the disruption that's going to be caused by the PvP aspect of this zone will come into effect constantly, and also that these are not even worthy to be called faction hubs, never mind capital cities. It's pathetic. Let it go. If there is some technological thing preventing you now from having the Temple of Karabor or Bladespire Fortress as the capital cities, okay, I can understand that. Create different ones in different zones. Set up a Horde base in Nagrand. Set up an Alliance base in Tanan Jungle. Do something like that. But stop trying to force world PvP. Stop putting them in a position where they're going to be constantly disrupted. Stop creating an embarrassing monstrosity at the end of these zones. And please engage your brain. You might be up against time now with getting Warlords out. The clock is ticking. But we can wait. People will wait. You might want them out. You might want this Warlords of Draenor out before the 10th anniversary of WoW. Or you might want it out to coincide with the 10th anniversary of WoW at the end of November. That's what I'm personally thinking. But I would quite happily wait until the 21st of December if we got some faction hubs or capital cities that we could be happy to spend the vast majority of 2 years sat in. Not a couple of crappy beaches with 3 huts and a dog, goat, whatever, called Derek on a bonfire. It's just ridiculous. Come on. Stop it. Stop it. Right, so let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. You've seen the pictures on the video today of the faction hubs. Let me know what you think about them. If you want to get vocal about this, then the best place to do it is in the Blizzard forums. Are you a beta tester and you think this is absolutely ridiculous? Go to the forums. Make your voice heard. Make Blizzard fully aware. If there are threads open about it, join them. Don't create new ones. Blizzard will only delete them. If there is a big thread going on about it, make your voice heard in that thread. But personally, it's making me shake my head in disbelief, and I think it's an embarrassment. Just think it's an utter stupid idea, embarrassment, and they just have to stop. But I hope you enjoyed the vid. Please do also thumb up and subscribe to my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and twitch.tv/Shield vs Babyface for live Warlords of Draenor streaming. And I shall be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care, everybody. Bye-bye.